I don't know if you can hear that or not. They're not quite classifying this as a typhoon, but man, does this rain insane. So it is early July. I'm just outside of Metro Manila, just north in Caloocan, where we've got our home. And it has just been torrential rain every single day for the last 2 weeks. We get about 2 good solid hours of rain every evening, and the sun comes out and it's a beautiful day. So I'm inside. That damn dog next door was barking away, and then when the rain started, I gave up. But today I wanted to talk about something that's been kind of on my mind a lot lately, and I'm sure some of you guys are thinking about it also, and that's what does the next chapter in life look like? Maybe it's an early retirement, or maybe you're just finding a way to change that pace of life where you're just not beating yourself or working yourself to death for the next 10, 20, maybe 30 years. And specifically, I want to talk about how you can pamper yourself here in the Philippines and provide an amazing, relaxing, comfort-based existence at a fraction of the cost. Okay, hold that thought. You've got to see just how crazy this rain really is. It's hopefully the camera will do it justice, but it is just coming down. The street here is already flooded out in a little bit more than a light shower. I do apologize because it's obviously going to be very noisy for today's conversation. But I can't control the weather, and I certainly can't make it any quieter than it is. So anyways, we're talking about pampering yourselves, right? Being treated to the luxury that you completely deserve, but might not necessarily be able to afford if you're in the United States. So I want to focus specifically today around house help, or full-time live-in house help. And when I talk about house help, what I'm referring to is somebody to do your cooking, your cleaning, maybe doing your laundry and your dishes, and just your basic all-around housework. And that's going to cost you ready for this? About $15 a day. Let that sink in for a minute. $15 a day to have somebody deal with just all the BS and garbage that goes on to maintaining a household, or cooking, cleaning, laundry, just all the stuff you don't want to deal with. You can pass that off to somebody who's going to be grateful for the job, appreciative for the income, and going to put far more time and dedication into it than you will. Now, let's put it into perspective. In the United States, minimum wage where I'm from, in the Seattle area, minimum wage is $15 an hour. Now, obviously, you can't actually hire somebody for $15 an hour. You also have your state and your federal taxes. You've got your employment taxes. There's Social Security, health and medical benefits. So all in, a regular average minimum wage employee is going to cost you about $30 an hour when it's all said and done. And that's for 8 hours a day. Putting that all together, and you're looking at about $4,800 a month. Now, in the Philippines, that same employee living with you as part of your family, which means you're paying for their room and their board, their housing expenses, whatever food costs might come on board with that. It's going to cost you about $300 a month, or is that $3,600 a year? Versus in the United States, an 8-hour employee is going to cost you about $48,000 a year. Pretty crazy, isn't it? Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this exploitation? Right? Are we taking advantage of the good graces of the Filipinos? Let me give you a different perspective here. So in the Philippines, your median household income, and again, we're not talking about downtown Metro Manila or Makati in the westernized area. These numbers are going to be referring to the rural or provincial areas of the Philippines. That's outside of the bigger cities. Your median household income, it's going to be roughly 280,000 pesos a year, or translated that into USD, it's about $5,000 a year. Right, so your average Filipino household in the rural communities is going to make about $5,000 a year. Their housing costs are going to be about $1,200 a year. Their food costs about $2,000 a year. In the United States, again, back where I'm from, in the Seattle metro area, your median household income is about $100,000 a year. Your housing costs are 50% of that. So if you're going to rent an apartment in Seattle, plan on spending about $50,000 a year on housing and another $20,000 a year on food. Your dollar goes a long way here. And no, you're not exploiting the Filipinos. They're two very different countries, two very different costs of living. It's like trying to compare apples and watermelons. Doesn't make any sense. So when you look at the concept of house help, again, it's pretty foreign for those of us from the United States, right? Unless you grew up with a silver spoon, the only house help you were really familiar with might be Alice from the Brady Bunch, right? The zany housekeeper that lived in a coat closet and had the boyfriend down the street. But here in the Philippines, house help is very common for a lot of different folks. And it's not just the upper echelon or the elite high societies. House help is just another way of living for just your average Philippine family. And there's obviously going to be different degrees of education, different degrees of employment, depending on who you hire. But your average Filipino that is hired on as house help typically comes from a rural community and doesn't necessarily have the ability or means to go to college or a different career path or larger aspirations. So they are grateful for the job and they're grateful for the opportunity. So if you think about it for a minute, if you're paying them roughly $1,500 a year in USD, that money is able to be sent back home to their families, or it's used to send their children to college because they don't have to worry about any housing costs and they don't have to worry about any food costs while they work for you. So by providing all of those additional benefits for them, they're able to send their kids to school, guarantee a better lifestyle for their children. So are we exploiting them? Absolutely not. What you're doing is you are providing more opportunities for future generations, and you are taking part in an amazing culture, a culture that cares about each other, a culture that's based around service, kindness, and generosity. And you just happen to have the benefit of using a US dollar that goes a lot farther. So I don't know, folks, you tell me, does this seem like something that you'd be interested in? Does $15 a day seem like a fair trade to not have to worry about any of those day-to-day duties? For me, it absolutely does.